Ladies and gentlemen, the following episode is scheduled for one fall. Coming down the aisle are your hosts of In The Kliq, baby Huey and BrianTronic.
What's up, everybody? Baby Huey here, and joining me once again is my tag team partner, BrianTronic. How's it going, man?
It's going great. Back again. Another one.
Yes, here we are, Brian, back at it for another episode of In The Kliq. Thank you once again for tuning in. As always, please leave us a 5-star rating, a review if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts. If you're listening to us on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up, leave a comment there as well. And yeah, remember to subscribe to us wherever we get your podcasts at. We appreciate all the support. Help spread the word as well. Follow us on social media at In The Kliq. And if you want to email us, inthekliq@gmail.com. Brian, one of these days, I want to do maybe like a bonus episode where we just answer a bunch of emails, because I feel like that could be very fun, because I know, like, you know, when we do our episodes, we're kind of focusing on the week to week, you know, television, what's going on, and the clickbait news. But I kind of like doing like maybe an email segment where people can email us their questions and we can have more like fun, open-ended conversations. Like fantasy talk about, yo,
that'd be a good idea.
Yeah, all that stuff. So please email us inthekliq@gmail.com. That's KLIQ. But Brian, yes, here we are recording on the weekend. What a busy week in pro wrestling. Once again, we mentioned this last week, like 2022 will go down forever as probably the biggest year in pro wrestling news of everything that's gone on. And here we are. We're just at the end of August. Still got what? September, October, November, December, 4 more months in the year. But what's happened in this first like 2/3 of the year has been insane. This week specifically, once again, for AEW's sake, I feel like what happened outside the ring has been more interesting what's going on inside the ring, which I don't know if it's good or bad. I mean, it still generates buzz and talking. It's got us talking about AEW and fans and everyone online. But once again, AEW, a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that's being like leaked out and reported by the various websites. So we'll get into all of that. So let's go ahead and jump into some clickbait news. First off, let's talk about the main event from this week's episode of AEW Dynamite. Well, no, actually, excuse me. It wasn't technically the main event, which was a shocker.
Co-main event, right?
Co-main event. So this past week on Dynamite, it was announced last week that Jon Moxley versus CM Punk, winner take all, to become the official AEW World Champion. You, myself, I think everyone thought it was going to be the main event. No, it was actually kicked off the second hour of Dynamite. So, yeah, it was a co-main event. They announced the trios match between the United Empire, Will Ospreay and the Aussie guys, versus Death Triangle. That was the main event. And at the beginning of the show, I'm sure you as well was like scratching your head. Wait a sec. CM Punk and Jon Moxley, that could be the main event here,
right?
Which I guess kind of makes sense based on what happened. We'll break that down, but yeah, kind of your thoughts initially when you heard that CM Punk and Jon Moxley was not going to be the last match of the night.
Yeah, I thought there was going to be some shenanigans in the match immediately when I found out that it wasn't the main event. I was like, okay, something's going to happen, or it's going to be like a no contest, or something's going to happen, and then then we'll get the actual match at All Out. But you know, Huey, that wasn't the case.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk about this match. It was more or less a squash match. Jon Moxley wins, is now the official AEW World Champion. A match that lasted about 3 minutes. Wow. Yeah, we saw Mox and Punk. They locked up in the center of the ring, collar and elbow tie up. Moxley, started hitting Punk with a bunch of shots. Then we saw CM Punk hit Mox in the face, and we saw Punk try to use some knee shots, and he went for a high kick to Jon Moxley's head. He immediately fell to the ground and he started holding his left foot. Moxley took advantage of that, started hitting with some elbows, hit a couple Death Riders, pinned him 1, 2, 3. Jon Moxley, AEW World Champion. So like I said, pretty much a squash match, 3 minutes. The crowd was shocked. I was shocked. Twitter, everyone was shocked. But how about you? What was your thoughts on the outcome of that match and just how the whole layout of it?
Yeah, I was shocked. I didn't know what was going on. It happened so quick. And when you expect a match to go on for a long time, sometimes, at least for me, sometimes I'll like, especially at the beginning, I'll take my attention away, or I'll do something, or I have a new baby boy, new son, so like, I was doing something with him, and then I look, and Punk's on the mat holding his left foot. I'm like, wait a minute, wait, what happened? Yeah. So I rewinded, and I went back and I saw what was going on, and I'm like, okay. And then I see Moxley just completely take control, and then 1, 2, 3, the match is over. I'm like, what happened? And then here comes all the theories, right? Like in my head, I'm like, all right, they had this big meeting at the beginning of the day. CM Punk didn't like it. Tony Khan said he's taking the title off of him, because I'm like, whoa, he just squashed CM Punk literally like what? At that point it was a little over 7 days, a little over a week, right? Until All Out, or
about a week and a half. I think at that point 11 days, yeah.
A week and a half until All Out in Chicago, right? That's CM Punk territory. Like Jon Moxley, he's the heel now in this case, right? I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on? Like, why is this happening? And it just made me scratch my head a bit and really just sit back and go, okay, maybe he is hurt, right? Because I'm like, okay, he did just come back from being hurt, but I'm like, no, there's no way. Like, yeah, I didn't see any X's thrown up. I didn't see. It didn't look like it. It didn't feel like it. It felt like a big middle finger statement, right, from Jon Moxley. And
he did literally throw up the middle finger as the pinning was going on. So that was there. Yeah, man, I was shocked too. I was like, what is going on? And so, and then, so just to clarify, because a lot of people, there was some confusion because CM Punk kicked Moxley with his right foot, but grabbed his left foot. So everyone was like, did he grab the wrong foot? Well, no, I believe the left foot was the one that was injured. He had surgery on. That's why he was out for the last few months, was because of the left foot. And so the philosophy behind that, or was that was his plant foot. So when he went to go kick Moxley in the head, all his weight was put on his left foot, hence why he re-aggravated or injured it, or kayfabe, whatever the story is, that by putting all the weight on his left foot, the one that was surgically repaired, it just got re-hurt again. And so then raises the question, did he come back too soon? All that stuff, which is funny. They got that and the Kenny Omega storyline. Did he come back too soon? So both these guys, they come back too soon from their respected injuries. But anyway,
right.
So yeah, Mox wins. He's celebrating the ring. They see CM Punk. He's being carried out. He looks back and he's staring at Moxley, staring at the crowd, all cheering for him. So a lot of people are speculating, is this planting the seeds of a potential heel turn? Because, from CM Punk's standpoint, it's like, wow, the AEW fan base is cheering the other guy that won. They're celebrating that I lost the title. So that could be easily some motivation why he wanted to go heel turn.
They've chosen Jon Moxley over me.
How dare they? So on Rampage, I didn't watch Rampage live, but I saw the video clip on their YouTube page, like a little, they promised, behind the scenes video after the match. Yeah. They show CM Punk being carried back, and he's on the doctor's table there, and he just said he just felt a pop, and it felt like how he heard it before. And that was it. It was a really short clip. They didn't really give much. So they're just trying to sell the story that, it looks like he re-aggravated his injured foot from that kick. So now the question is, what's going to happen? Here we are a week away from All Out. No main event officially announced yet. No World Championship match is lined up yet. So it's like, what's going to happen? What can it be? So I'm guessing on Dynamite this week, I'm sure, I think it was already advertised, Mox is going to come out and cut a promo. Does he, now here we are fantasy booking, what could happen? It's like, does he just have an open challenge? Does he challenge someone? Does he go out there and CM Punk comes back and demands a rematch? Because I believe, was it Meltzer reported that the main event he's been told it's still going to be Moxley versus CM Punk. So as you mentioned, a week and a half later, I guess they're going to have a rematch there. Are you okay with that? How do you think is the best way to get to that route?
I mean, I'm okay with it, but from what everybody's like at least predicting, right, that maybe we'll get a CM Punk heel turn. I don't think that's gonna work. In the Chicago area. I know it's not exactly Chicago, but like I don't think that's gonna work at All Out. I do think, and then even if you think about Jon Moxley's promo he cut after the match, it's kind of like, I told you, you know, you guys didn't think that I could do it. You guys, it was very heelish to the fans, and like you said, the middle finger, he stuck up the middle finger as the referee counted 3 during that match, and so it's just like, I don't know. Maybe it'll be best if they go the heel route with Moxley, even though he's the cool guy and everyone's excited and they love Moxley and they love it because he, the way he works. And I don't know, man. It's tough now. But about the match though, I don't even know if I'm interested in the match still after the squash. Like,
yeah, like, okay, I was trying to think of the different scenarios how this could play out for the pay-per-view was maybe Moxley set open challenge, he'll challenge whoever wants to face him, and maybe that's how CM Punk comes back. The other thing I'm thinking is, okay, I'm trying to think of like different scenarios, is maybe like, okay, maybe CM Punk can go into the Casino Battle Royal match and win that and immediately demand a championship match at the end of the night. So, I mean,
that's
that could
a good
be
way to
one
do
way.
it. I forgot about that.
I mean, so kind of like their version of like a Money in the Bank, situation like that.
Wow.
I don't know if that could work, but regardless, if CM Punk somehow finds a way to get back into a rematch with Jon Moxley, I feel like either CM Punk's gonna win clean and have a big baby face moment in front of the hometown crowd, like, wow, a week and a half later he overcame the odds of re-aggravating his foot to win it again, like great heroic moment. Right. Or yes, he goes heel and has to beat Moxley, cheat somehow to beat Jon Moxley, because Jon Moxley, to his credit, I think a lot of people have been praising for his interim title run, because he's been fighting pretty regularly every week. I think you mentioned that last week. He's been fighting regularly, hard-hitting matches, bleeding. I think kind of maybe his own personal story is just to prove everyone that he's more than just an interim champion. He is the real champion of AEW, like representing him to the fullest, fighting, representing that company. So I mean, that's his own personal story. But I can see like he's in such this like tough mode right now. If you think about it, like, he's on such a tear right now. CM Punk, that's a lot to overcome. So I can imagine for CM Punk, he might have to cheat to win, which begins his heel turn.
True.
And sure, in Chicago, they're going to love him no matter what. But then like the weeks after that, he can explain like, you people, I know that's such a cliche in wrestling, you people, but
it'll happen.
But he could say he was pissed that the crowd cheered for his defeat, his injury, whatever, however he wants to put it in his head, spin those words around. So CM Punk can go on a heel run as AEW World Champion. And then after that, like, some people are like fantasy booking, maybe that's when MJF comes back and kind of, I guess, as a baby face, or maybe as a tweener in between, anti-hero, whatever you want to call it, he's the one that beat CM Punk for the world title. So maybe that's what they're holding out for with MJF, is like he's the one that kind of saves the day and gets the belt back as an AEW original or AEW pillar of the company. I don't know. What are your thoughts on potentially that type of storyline?
I really want MJF to just hold out until his contract's up to come to WWE, but
hold out for the next, like, what, got 16 months now at this point?
Yeah, just hold out, But if he did come back, I don't know. Like, I mean, I like it. I think altogether, I just want AEW to start building up like a solid division, right? Like, I think they have trouble building up is outside of the tag team division and the trios division, because I feel like anybody who loves tag team wrestling in AEW, they can tell you who the trios teams are, who's the number one contenders, who's next up, who should be. But how many guys can be or should be next in line for the world title outside of, who we've seen? I mean, I think Bryan is a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
Bryan Danielson, guys like him. But outside of him, Moxley, CM Punk, Jericho, obviously MJF, like who else is there that's there on a weekly basis that could be seriously a serious challenger to someone like Jon Moxley? Jon Moxley's serious business now. Like he just squashed CM Punk, the best in the world, right? So he's not gonna be it's not going to be easy to just go in there and beat Jon Moxley. And then even I feel the same about Punk. If he comes back and gets an edge and defeats Jon Moxley, that'll prove then, hey, that loss was kind of a fluke. I got hurt. I put pressure on my ankle, my foot. And then I went out there and I took care of business, right? So I just feel like there's not a really good solid division surrounding the world title picture or any championship really outside of the tag title. So MJF is a name out there that I would be fine with, but who knows? I don't know. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, then that brings up a great question is like, they haven't been really doing a good job of like building up future contenders. Like, it kind of seemed like Wardlow might be one of them, but and this is we haven't talked about it on the show, but remember when he had the big win over MJF, he said he was focused to go over the TNT title, and I think a lot of people were like, wait a sec, dude, your goal should be the world championship, not the TNT title. No disrespect to that title, but
right.
And ultimately he went for that, and he's now TNT champion, so maybe they felt like maybe he's not ready for the world title picture, so let's put him off to the side with this separate storyline in that division. But you can argue his kind of stock has kind of fallen post Double or Nothing, and that's a whole nother story to talk about. But yeah, it's the way this match played out on free TV. I guess they probably thought, let's do it on free TV, because if they did that squash match in Chicago for All Out, it would have been a riot.
Oh, yeah.
So I hope they have something bigger planned for All Out as a bigger payoff for what they did here. My only concern is they had over 1 million people watching for that match. My concern is people will see that and be like, what? Squash match? All right, I'm not tuning in again. So I'm worried, will there be drop-off this coming week, the week after? So that's a risky move for Tony Khan and AEW with the type of match that they laid out there. So that's my only concern for the company long term. Right. You have this big match on free TV, not really a great match to watch. I mean, generate a lot of buzz, like I said, guys talking, but for maybe more the casual fan, they'd be like, what? That's your big world championship match? All right, I'm not tuning in again. That's my only concern. So we'll see. We got All Out next weekend. We'll see what happens, how it all goes. So we'll see about that. Some other clickbait related news is the whole news surrounding Thunder Rosa, the AEW Women's Champion. Unfortunately, she cut a backstage interview with Tony Schiavone. She said, quote, "I am heartbroken. I have to step down as the champion. I am no longer able to defend because of injury. On September 4th at All Out, there will be an interim champion, Tony Storm. I hope your dreams come true and you become the interim women's champion, but I will be back." So yes, unfortunately, Thunder Rosa is injured. Like I said, has to step down. They're going to, instead of the match, which was going to be Thunder Rosa versus Tony Storm for the title, off the books now, instead they're going to have a fatal four-way. So it's Tony Storm, Britt Baker, Hikaru Shida, and Jamie Hayter, fatal four-way to determine the interim women's champion. It was then confirmed, let's see, was a PW Insider, I believe. Yes, that she's struggling with like a disc in her back. So a back injury, so that's why it's preventing her from having to work. And she went on Busted Open Radio and explained herself, like some days are good, some days she can't walk, it's really hurting her. So definitely wish her speed recovery. It's not kayfabe, it's a legit injury she's dealing with. So yeah, that sucks, man. So Brian, your thoughts on Thunder Rosa injury. And I also want to ask you, what are your thoughts about an AEW doing the interim champion stuff for when the actual champion's injured? Your thoughts on that as well?
So the interim thing, it takes me back to, remember when champions, like if you were a champion, right? And let's just say, if you were injured for a certain amount of time, that means you can't championship in a certain amount of time. And if you can't defend the championship in a certain amount of time, then you'd get stripped of the title.
Yeah.
Right. So I feel like if you're going to be out a significant amount of time, like long enough to where you go 90 days without defending the title, then I feel like you should be stripped and, you shouldn't be champion anymore. But if you're going to be out just a little bit, you're, maybe a month, maybe a few weeks, then yeah, just to keep the championship going, you want to crown an interim champion, sure, that's fine. I don't have a problem with it. I know it's hard to kind of work it out that way in pro wrestling, right? I mean, I'm thinking back to, I'm thinking WCW days, JJ Dillon, and when he used to handle things over in WCW. But I guess I just kind of wish that they did things that way. But I don't have too much of an issue with the interim championship thing. It's just kind of gives it all away, and especially if there's a storyline going on, right? Like in my eyes, it's kind of obvious that Toni Storm's going to win the championship now. Especially because of the rumors and things came out saying that she was slated to win the title anyways. Yeah. So then it's just kind of like, all right, well then that means we're eventually going to get Toni Storm and Thunder Rosa for the championship when Thunder Rosa's healthy and she can come back. So then that means there's no hope for anybody else that goes up against Toni Storm in the meantime, And so even just like Punk and Moxley, we knew, okay, Punk's going to come back. We're going to get Punk and Moxley for the championship. There was some times where you were like, oh, like these title defenses that Moxley has had in between. There were some times where I was like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe Jericho will win tonight, maybe. Yeah,
okay. But I get what you're saying. Yeah.
But most of the time it's just like, oh, okay, I already know. We're getting Toni Storm and Thunder Rosa at Double or Nothing, guys. Relax. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that. So,
I for me, it's I guess, is this common in UFC? I don't follow UFC closely, but I guess in some MMA fight, like if there's a champion that's hurt, they'll have an interim champion to hold it down or represent that division respectively. I think for a lot of people, we're just so used to WWE. No matter the injury, if you're injured, they just immediately stripped you the title. You have to vacate it, and they just find someone else. Was it? Remember Naomi? Wasn't she only out for like a couple weeks, but they just took the title off her anyway, if I remember correctly?
I believe so.
And it was just kind of sucks. It was like, well, if you're out for a couple weeks, just not have them on TV. Do other storylines. Right. But you brought up a good point. I think if it's like a short-term injury that you're just trying to heal up from, then yeah, maybe have an interim champion that can be seen on TV regularly, like Jon Moxley was. And then, in a couple months, if the original champion is healthy, can come back, then yeah, you have a built-in storyline, champion versus champion, like we saw Mox and Punk. But yeah, you brought up a good point. If you're injured for like over 6 months, 9 months with a really severe injury, then I think, by case situations, like, okay, that person needs to unfortunately vacate the title because they're not going to be back anytime soon. So, might as well vacate it and then start over again, which is unfortunate. So, I do feel bad for Thunder Rosa. She has to, for right now, can't be champion. They're going to get a new champion. So, as you just mentioned, looks like Toni Storm's probably going to be the one to win it. And then, maybe at Full Gear. So that's going to be in a couple months. If Thunder Rosa's healed, then you have your built-in story, champion versus champion there. Just do it there. So it's going to be interesting. But unfortunately for Thunder Rosa, following Dynamite, all this backstage stuff about her started coming out about her and, Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter. So, like, was it one report said, like, yeah, Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa do not hate each other. I'm sorry, they do hate each other. They're mortal enemies, but they realize it's a business and they are professionals and they go in the ring and wrestle when they need to. But other than that, they can't stand each other, which is okay.
Yeah,
like
it's fine.
You're not gonna like everyone you work
Nope.
with.
Nope.
No, especially where pro wrestling, everyone's fighting for TV time and trying to win over the bookers, whatever, trying to have the booker in favor of you, make you look good on TV, all that stuff. I understand that. It was also reported, it came out like that night, I believe, after Dynamite, that Jamie Hayter and Thunder Rosa, when they had their match at Battle of the Belts a couple months ago, Jamie Hayter got her nose broken. Thunder Rosa ran off, hid in the bathroom because Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker and them were coming after her. Those reports got kind of debunked because, let me see here. I had the reports here. While it was reported that Thunder Rosa was hiding in the bathroom, this may have been a misinterpretation of the actual series of events that played out backstage. So according to sources that talked to, for this article here, after the match, Rosa sprinted from the ring. It was nowhere to be seen. When Rosa reemerged, she was told about the injury to Hayter. Sources said that Rosa was apologetic after hearing about the injury, but before she went to the bathroom and locked herself inside. Okay. Brian, your thoughts on, if you want to touch on, Britt Baker, Thunder Rosa not liking each other, but also these kind of outrageous reports of Thunder Rosa hiding in the bathroom after breaking Jamie Hayter's nose.
So I feel like Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker, it's, the news of them not liking each other. The only thing I think about is, no wonder why they didn't really work well, in my opinion, together. I felt like they do, but then they don't. Like, at least the last few matches that they had were kind of like, oh, like, is everything all right? Like, are they okay? Are they on the same page? The chemistry seemed off.
I thought the last one was the cage match, right? That seemed a little off.
That seemed a little off. Now, I know that in history, right, in wrestling, there's tons of people who, you think of Edge and Matt Hardy, right?
Absolutely.
They weren't on the same page. They had a lot of drama that went on.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to sit here and say that they were the greatest opponents, right? But they worked really, really well together, and they made what story they had work. I can even go back as far as, even Benoit and Kevin Sullivan, right? Like, there was a lot of speculation, a lot of drama going on with them, but they could go. They would destroy each other. Every time, I remember Bash at the Beach, or even Great American Bash. They had a few matches where they just had these street fights and they would just destroy each other over and over and over. So, just to name a few, I think that if it was like, if they were working great together, then I wouldn't mind it. Who cares? You have your backstage politics and problems and all, but if they don't work well together and that they have issues, it's probably best to just keep them away from each other and just don't even go with that story anymore. Now that I'm thinking about it, okay, we're saying Tony Storm was probably going to be the winner of that match, but I don't know. Who knows? Maybe Tony Khan would want to say, hey, let's put the title on Britt Baker, and then we get Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa yet again for the Undisputed Championship.
Get that work shoot storyline going again.
Yes.
That seems to be like the trend in AEW, is like he'll take these reports of behind the scenes drama and make into an actual storyline, into a work shoot storyline.
That's they're saying that's what he's doing right now, even with
Punk and Mox and Hangman
and Hangman, yeah.
Which I was going to get into more of that maybe with the Sammy Guevara, Eddie Kingston stuff. But you brought up a good point. It's just like, I think if you do it every once in a while, it works. Like what you said, Matt Hardy, Edge, they had their real life drama with Lita and everything behind the scenes, but then they worked it out, and then they decide, okay, let's make this into a storyline, and all parties involved were okay and made it work. I think in this situation, because we talked about last week how there were reports where some people backstage don't know what's real anymore, and they work for the company. So I think if you overdo the work shoot storylines, it kind of can mess with morale backstage as far as people who maybe, have issues with other people, but they're being told to bring that issues to TV, that can make the situation even worse between the parties involved and be like, all right, I got to talk about my personal business on TV because the booker wants it like that. It can make things worse if not everyone agrees to that or feels comfortable doing that. So I think I'd be careful with the work shoot stuff. Like, come up with just an original storyline or something, that everyone can just go along with. That's my only thing here. So that's my only concern of all these reports coming out. And this is going, and then, you and I were talking off the air before we recorded tonight. I'm at the point now where all these reports of backstage reports, this person doesn't like this person or this person about this person. Because also with Thunder Rosa, there are reports coming out that she recently has a history of berating AEW extras. And some people are saying she has an ego now, while other people are reporting, no, she's great to work with. And so I'm at the point now where it's like, with all these different wrestling journalists, hey, I respect their work. They're hardworking. They're doing what they can to get stories and make articles and all that stuff. My only concern is their sources. What are these sources' hidden agenda? What's their motivation to say stuff? Are they purposely leaking stuff to journalists out there in hopes of making someone else look bad? And then that way, maybe they could slide in and kind of that person that they might be jealous of at the top will fall down, and then they can maybe somehow work their way to the top. Like, you got to kind of question. I'm at the point now where I question these sources, who's telling the stories. Brian, I was telling you off the air, I've dealt with people in the past where I've been in situations with them and I witnessed whatever something happened. I'm talking vague on purpose, but I've heard them talk about that incident to other people, and they kind of over exaggerate the events that happened. But I was there, and I was like, it didn't necessarily play out like that. Right. So I'm applying that philosophy that as an example to these reports I see online. So it's like, who's leaking what to the journalists? What's their hidden motivation? How much value, how much weight can you put into those acclaimed statements? And so what's their agenda? Are they jealous of someone? They're trying to make them look bad, and then hopefully powers that be or the fans turn on them, and the powers that be will bring them down a notch and then maybe elevate someone else. You got to kind of question all that. So like I said, Thunder Rosa, she's a friend of the show. She's done interviews with us. She's lived in the Bay Area for a long time. She's always been cool with us. I have nothing bad to say about her. But then again, I don't know her that well. I know her just more on a professional level. Like I said, I don't know how she is behind the scenes and how she conducts herself all the time. I'm not around her. So who knows? There might be some truth to some of these reports. I don't know. Then again, the report about her hiding in the bathroom scared of Jamie Hayter coming to attack her. Thunder Rosa is an MMA fighter as well. I think she could defend herself.
Right.
So
Thunder Rosa definitely doesn't come off as someone afraid of anyone. She definitely seems like a really nice person, right? But definitely not someone who you can just, especially, and I mean, the report said that it was because she broke Jamie Hayter's nose, so she was upset. It's just like, come on.
Well, and also, to Thunder Rosa's credit, she's really worked her ass off to get where she is now. Like the struggles and, fighting and, having her own promotion. She's really hustled the last few years. Remember, it was a couple years ago, she almost was going to take a job with WWE and NXT as a referee, but instead she decided to go to the NWA, did her time there, got noticed, then with AEW, putting on some amazing matches. So I'm sure with anyone who's worked their ass off to reach the top are going to have a little bit of an ego because they paid their dues. Right.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say, excuse her if she's, not going to be like, oh, excuse me. Can I please? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
She's paid her dues. She's a vet in this industry. She knows what she's doing. And, it's just because she's not bowing down to, the one of the pillars of the company, right? I mean, let's be honest, she's not Charlotte Flair, right? So why would anybody bow down to Britt Baker? But that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see how this goes with Thunder Rosa. We wish her speedy recovery. We love her work. And at the end of the day, we just want everyone to get along. That we can't stress that enough. It's like we just want everyone to be happy, go out there, make your money, put on amazing matches, and we'll all be fine. Another backstage issue is Sammy Guevara, Eddie Kingston. So it was reported Eddie Kingston got suspended recently because he got in Sammy Guevara's face because Sammy Guevara cut a promo where he called him and the fans a fat piece of S. Eddie Kingston got mad because like he didn't get approval from Sammy, or Sammy didn't get approval from Eddie to use that line. Also, I'm just paraphrasing here, but Eddie's like, his mindset is like, if you call me a fat piece of S and I beat you, which I think was the plan at All Out, people are not going to believe me as a credible winner. Am I getting that right with that kind of like his reasoning?
I think so.
So it's like, dude, don't call me a fat piece of ass because then people don't believe that I can beat you. Like, which I kind of get. And then also, I guess Eddie Kingston also reported that it wasn't just that one comment alone. I guess it's kind of been building up for some time. I guess how Sammy's been conducting himself backstage. His behavior in months leading up to that comment. So it kind of seemed like it just came to a head. Eddie Kingston got to his face and pie face him. That's why I've heard people say pie face him. What does that mean? Like push him? I guess
he like mushed him in his face, like put his hand in his face or something.
Okay.
At least that's what I thought when I heard pie face.
So yeah, he got into his face when Sammy came back after that promo. They eventually cut it out, so it never actually made air. I saw some fan footage.
Yeah, me too.
Of it, but yeah, what made it on cable TV that didn't air. So. And then Sammy Guevara released a statement, I guess, Fightful, and explained himself and said, I guess Eddie did not make himself available to relay to Sammy what's okay and not to say on air. Am I right? Is that more or less what he said? So yeah, Brian, I turn it to you. Your thoughts on this whole thing?
So stuff like this is exactly why I feel like you just can't let your wrestlers go out there and speak for themselves on a nightly basis, right? Like, and I'll give credit, like there's a lot of really talented guys and girls who are really good at wrestling, right? But talking and thinking of things from a creative standpoint isn't really their strong suit, right? And so when I hear guys like Sammy or, anyone really, the Acclaimed or whatever, they go out there and they, they're cussing people out and they're calling people fat and all these different things. Like, while stuff like that makes you go, whoa, right? It's just kind of like, that's kind of lame, in my opinion. Like, especially like if you're a wrestler, like, and think about it. Like, you think AEW, I feel like is the land of, anybody can do this, right? No matter whether you're big, small, short, skinny, fat, whatever. So calling someone fat, that's not really an insult to someone who is signed with AEW, because I feel like if you're with AEW, you can go like you're a really good wrestler, right? And so it's just like, that's to me that's kind of lame. I know it goes with the persona, and I know he's trying to get heat, and him and Tay and they're the most hated couple in all of wrestling right now. So I get it, but it's just weird. And like the whole thing with I know Eddie Kingston apologized and he said that he's wrong. He's what he's saying. He said that
a couple tweets he said I was being unprofessional. So I give Eddie credit for acknowledging, hey, I was in the wrong here. Yeah. So kudos to Eddie for acknowledging that, and
100%.
Hopefully things blow over. I mean, I guess my thing with that is, and this is something we kind of talked about last time, was we mentioned last week, it's like, I think AEW, while on paper it's great, everyone has creative freedom, kind of speak their mind. At times, though, that can get out of hand, and maybe the prisoners are running the prison. At least that's what it kind of sounds like from all these reports. So that's kind of it's unfortunate because it kind of creates like a hectic backstage. And so unless you're a veteran or established name who can kind of maybe roll with that or do what you want, but if you're like a young talent upcoming, it kind of, I think it kind of sucks. Like, that's kind of maybe not proper nurturing of bringing up talent and properly learning the business and how to conduct themselves. That's my only concern here. Yeah. For Eddie, I'm glad he, acknowledged he was in the wrong. Hopefully, maybe. Well, I don't know if the match is ever going to happen. I mean, it's still not listed for All Out. I don't think that's going to happen. I wonder if the whole feud just got scraped at that point. I don't know. We'll see. But then again, Sammy Guevara, there have been reports of his ego and whatnot, and so I mean, I hope Sammy kind of learned from this. But then again, remember when AEW and Impact were working together, and Sammy was going to go to that taping, and on the plane ride there, he was telling him, "No, I'm not doing this or that." Like he was kind of demanding what he was going to do for creative before he even got there. So now it's like, okay, the history of Sammy Guevara is starting to catch up with him. So
yeah, and I know he's gone through a lot, right? Like with proposing to his ex-girlfriend at one point and on in front of everybody in the ring, and then now he's with Tay, and I get it. I'm sure he gets a lot of horrible comments and opinions and people saying horrible things about him, and not to be like emotional here, but hurt people, so I'll give Sammy a chance. I know that Sammy probably wasn't trying to hurt Eddie Kingston or personally, right, but trying to further the story, trying to be the biggest heel he feels he could possibly be by saying what he's saying. But I don't know, man. You got to let the ego go. You're not the best member in your group. You're not even the second or third best member in your group, Sammy.
Exactly. So I mean, I hope at the end of the day, Sammy learns from this and maybe conducts himself a little bit better, learn from all this, and we'll see what happens. One other thing I do want to touch on about all the backstage drama was they had a big team meeting, roster meeting before Dynamite this week. A couple things were brought up. One was AEW's chief legal officer, Mega Parquet. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. She told the roster that she sent an email to Stephanie McMahon and Nick Khan warning them not to tamper with their talent. And I totally forgot to bring this up last episode, but there were reports someone from WWE reached out to a current member of the AEW roster asking about their contract status. That AEW roster wrestler told, I guess, their agent or their representation. Their representation then told Tony Khan or the AEW people about it, and that pissed them off. And this led to this meeting of telling WWE, do not mess with our talent, do not contact them. So a couple things, Brian, your thoughts on this tampering potential situation, WWE reaching out to AEW members of the, and then now it's more news came out, other people have been contacted. Supposedly Jericho said I guess a fan tweeted him, says, "Oh, it'd be cool to see you, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens in a faction." And he said, "Oh, WWE officials have reached out to me." So I was like, whoa, everyone's like, oh my God, it is true. So your thoughts on potentially contract tampering by WWE with AEW roster?
I feel like it sucks that this is I feel like it's happened the other way around also. It just hasn't gotten out yet. I feel like there's probably been a time or two where Tony Khan has reached out to wrestlers who were then under contract with WWE and kind of checking to see when their contract ends. I mean, there's no way that people just either get fired or let go and all of a sudden they're just in AEW after their 30 or 60 days are up, and it's like the perfect put together plan, right?
Well, this whole contract tampering is is this like the NFL or NBA or MLB, pro sports? They're trying to this is blowing up into that type of level, and it's okay. I feel like I'm sure someone from WWE is asking, and maybe an AEW wrestler, hey, I'm just curious. Hey, how you doing? How's everything going? Just curious, how much time left's on your contract? Just want to know. Yep. Okay, cool, thanks. But then again, it's if you go beyond that and be like, hey, how much time left? Okay, just want to let you know, I'm willing to make you an offer after the deal's up, offer you this much. Then, that's kind of tampering. Yeah. I feel like we don't know how much of that discussion happened. Regardless who talked to who, I feel like there's better ways to get that info. Because, we don't know most of these people's, how much time they have on their deal left or how much they're getting paid. Not like the NBA or MLB or NFL where we pretty much know everyone's contract length, what their salary is, all that stuff. Wrestling, we don't know all that stuff. I mean, I think some of the bigger names we know. But with that being said, I feel like, okay, if you're someone in WWE and you want to know how much time left someone has on AEW, couldn't you like maybe just find a friend or a middle, acquaintance to go ask on your behalf? That way, like in the NBA, don't like, NBA players, don't they joke on Twitter like, I would love to play with you one day, or there's ways around it. You can like dance around the subject without getting caught,
right?
Crap, how many times like at All-Star games where guys are like hugging each other and stuff, I'm sure they're not whispering in each other's ear like, hey, come play with us or something. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
So with this situation, wrestling, I feel like WWE can easily or should find someone that maybe doesn't work with the company but knows these wrestlers who can talk to them, find out that info, and then relay it back. So it's not
That's
like
true. I didn't think about that. I didn't think about that. That's actually a very smart way to do it without getting in trouble. I'm sure either Triple H or whoever he had or whoever Steph and Nick Khan. Hey, maybe who knows? It could have been Nick Khan himself. He seems very out there, like he wouldn't mind doing something like that.
Should we dare speculate who was maybe the first one this report came out on originally? Was a couple weeks ago now. I have my guess. You want to guess who?
Who do you think?
I think it was Swerve. Because Hit Row's back on SmackDown, but Swerve is not there. True. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Triple H wanted to find out how much time left Swerve had as a contract. That we can get the full Hit Row group back together. I know Hit Row right now, they call themselves like the OG3. Like apparently, can you confirm like they were the original?
Yep.
Triple H and NXT wanted the three of them together, and then they brought Swerve in later, but Swerve then became the leader, so everyone thinks he's kind of like the original.
Apparently, it was Top Dollar's group. Okay. Prior to even coming to WWE, and then he brought the idea up. It was they were the hit. They were the hit makers first, and then when they got to NXT, they were the OG3. They were going to be the OG3 Hit Row, but then Triple H wanted to bring Swerve in to kind of add to the group and be that, I guess, leader or whatever.
So that's why I thought it was Swerve. Maybe Swerve that says. Is there anyone else? I mean, God, there's so many people on the AEW roster now that are Triple H's babies from NXT. I mean,
it could
Keith
have been
Lee, Adam Cole, like.
I think Dax and Cash are two names also that people I think aren't really thinking about. Only reason I say that is because they've come out and they've pretty much shot down any rumors that, like, I remember there was a rumor a few months ago saying, could FTR be making a return back to WWE? Because I think people were saying that WWE was trying to get them back, and they were like, no, we're not trying to go back there. Like, we're happy where we're at, we're good. Mostly
that was under the Vince McMahon era still.
Yes. Yes.
So I wonder if things have changed in the last month, but we'll see.
We'll see. And I think about this. I mean, just a minute ago we were talking about the backstage drama and everything. With Triple H now being in control and everybody seeing the drastic changes, I call it drastic. I know there hasn't been, like, it looks the same, right? But the booking, the storytelling, the matches, how long the matches are, how much wrestling we're getting on a weekly basis over the last month has been completely different. And so maybe we'll see. Maybe, we're talking about Sammy Guevara and his ego and everything. Maybe we're going to be seeing a lot of that on the other side in AEW now, knowing that, hey, you know what? If it doesn't work out here, I know that there's somewhere else I can go. And I know for a fact that I'm going to be given an opportunity and given a chance, especially if I'm a Sammy Guevara or a Wardlow or an MJF, right? I mean, MJF really, guys like him now really is at this point where it's like, all right, well, now I really know that I have a chance over there versus, before. So the tampering stuff that was also brought up
that was like the big thing brought up at the talent meeting this week at Dynamite, before Dynamite. Also, they talked about some other stuff, I guess, like the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, Jericho. They all spoke to the roster, and Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks said, hey, our doors are open if you want to talk to us. And I guess while they talked about different topics, I think a lot of the reports coming out was they didn't really address the issue about Colt Cabana and how he's been treated and, brought over to Ring of Honor. And I think a lot of people, as we mentioned before, a lot of people were kind of, I think, upset that maybe CM Punk uses influence to kind of get Colt Cabana initially like not brought back to AEW, but then when the rest of the roster spoke up in favor of him, they did a make good and put him on the Ring of Honor roster. But so that lingering issue with Colt Cabana still hasn't been properly addressed behind the scenes. So a lot of people are still kind of upset about that. I will say this. What I'm hopeful for, what I'm optimistic for is between like this talent meeting, all the reports of this drama being leaked out to the public. And remember, what was it, a few weeks ago, they kind of promoted some people like Tony Schiavone, Pat Buck, a couple other people in the different talent relations department. I'm hoping while all this drama is coming out and it's kind of creating, a little bit of a bad look for AEW, and people are kind of wondering it's kind of chaotic right now, the Wild Wild West, as Billy Gunn. Was it Billy Gunn that said that recently? I'm hopeful with all this drama being reported, this will make AEW as a company look themselves in the mirror, be like, okay, we have some issues here, we need to fix this. And I'm hopeful this will then fix the issues or begin the process of fixing those issues. And hopefully, over time, AEW will be in a better situation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Like I said, like all this reports coming out, AEW, the powers that be like, oh crap, we got some issues here, we need to address this. And then hopefully, they'll take the time to address this and hopefully light a fire under their ass, be like, oh man, we gotta take care of our staff or fix things, because hey, look, WWE looks sweet right now with Triple H in charge, so we gotta take care of our talent, make sure they're happy here where they're at. So that's what I'm hopeful for, is while all these reports make them look bad, at the end of the day, they'll use this as course correction or a reason for course correction. So
Tony Khan can't just get away with, him being the hottest booker in the world. Like, AEW's they're not the new shiny toy anymore, and again, I see people online talking about Tony Khan and Triple H. I hope it doesn't come down to that, to where people are wanting to go work for WWE because Triple H and blah blah blah. And because I don't want Triple H to then get big headed either and have this ego like, I'm in charge. I want everybody, like, which is why I think Tony Khan, wake up. Like, I'm not accusing him of having an ego or anything like that. I mean, I do hear him on Busted Open weekly, and I have been listening to him over the last few months or whatever that he's been going on there. So, and I do know that he does. He's very proud and he's very confident in AEW and the product and what they put out. He very much so does think that he has the best wrestling show out there right now. So, and which is fine. You should think that way. You should, but you should also be able to look in the mirror and say, you know what? Like you said, Huey, we gotta change some things. We gotta fix some things. This is all Cody Rhodes' fault.
Yeah,
everything started falling apart.
It makes you wonder, man. Hey, when Cody left, things have been kind of falling apart. It makes you wonder, maybe Cody was like a locker room leader. Maybe that's what they need. Maybe they need some locker room leaders right now. I know CM Punk did an interview with Sports Illustrated and said his door's always open, but he says that, but how does he treat people? It makes you question, like, maybe this is an opportunity for some veterans to step up and be a locker room leader, can maybe help change the culture a little bit behind the scenes. Yeah, and then maybe some of the issues with the storytelling, the booking lately. Yep. Cody's not there anymore. I think Cody helped Tony Khan early on, so it makes you wonder. Cody, I think was a lot more valuable than I think people are giving him credit for. That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely. I agree.
So we'll just wrap up on this as far as, so it looks like finally a bunch of matches for All Out have been announced this past episode of Dynamite and Rampage. So we're finally seeing the card being put together. So we will see the finals for the AEW World Trios Championship. We saw Death Triangle lose to Will Ospreay and what's their name?
Was it the Empire?
The United Empire.
The United Empire, yeah.
Great match, a lot of fun. But the real big takeaway was after Dynamite went off the air and the Kenny Omega Will Ospreay interaction. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Dude, that should have been on TV. I watched it on YouTube. It was great. Yep. What'd you think of that whole back and forth?
I was surprised they didn't put this on TV. I'm like, okay, this is the opportunity here. This is why this is the main event, right? I'm thinking all right, we're gonna get Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay face to face. Finally, after all the back and forth over the years, social media and stuff, but it didn't happen. I mean, it did, but they didn't show it on TV. But I don't know. It's it makes me wish that they were meeting in the finals and not the semifinals coming up on Wednesday.
So United Empire versus the Elite this Wednesday on Dynamite.
Yeah,
it's I kind of wish that could have been the finals right there.
Yes.
We'll see.
It's kind of weird.
But yeah, that Kenny Omega.
Who's on the other side? It's House of Black and Best Friends, right?
Let me see here. Dark Order. Remember, Dark Order got the win over House of Black when Miro interfered.
Oh, no way.
So Dark Order versus Best Friends.
Oh, that's right.
So the only thing I could think of here is maybe someone from Dark Order gets injured and then Hangman inserts himself as a replacement. Then you get Dark Order versus the Elite at All Out. Right? I mean, that's
long-term booking, I guess.
That's the only thing I can see here that could play out there. Wardlow and FTR will go up against Jay Lethal, and the Motor City Machine Guns are going to make an appearance there, which I'm excited for. I mean, obviously they're a legendary tag team, but then again, I'm like, you have so many people on your roster you could be using, but you're going out, you're outsourcing for talent again. So I'm a little torn. Tony Storm, as I mentioned earlier, versus Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter, Hikaru Shida for the interim AEW Women's Championship. They have the Casino Ladder match, which I kind of wonder if CM Punk might put himself in there and then try cashing in at the end of the night.
Or maybe MJF. Maybe we see MJF come back.
That too? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Bryan Danielson versus Chris Jericho, which I'm kind of excited for. After they kicked off Dynamite this week, Garcia confronted Jericho and said, Bryan Danielson was my idol growing up, and I had this great match with him, a match I always dreamed about having. And Bryan Danielson stuck out his hand to shake my hand, show respect, and you interfered that. You ruined that moment when you attacked him. And then Jericho and Danielson talked it out, and they're gonna have a match against each other, which is great. If you're a casual wrestling fan, you'll be like, oh yeah, these two guys from WWE. So that's an important match for this card to kind of bring the casual person in. Let's see, Swerve and Our Glory are gonna take on the Acclaim for the AEW World Tag Titles. Jungle Boy. Finally, I know. I'm excited for the Acclaim.
Me too.
They've really come a long way, won the crowd over. So, hopefully, I don't know if they'll win here, but I hope they are world champions, tag champions at some point. Jungle Boy versus Christian Cage, Ricky Starks, who cut a great promo this week on Dynamite as well, versus Powerhouse Hobbs, and then Jay Cargill defending the TBS championship against Athena. So 9 matches so far. I'm sure Mox obviously be part of the equation somehow. But yeah, no, Dynamite this week had some great wrestling, but got a lot more of attention for the Mox and CM Punk situation. Was there anything else from Dynamite that kind of stood out for you?
No.
I mean, at this point they're just trying to set up all these matches kind of last minute for All Out. That's kind of like the big takeaway I'm seeing here. I will admit, I forgot to mention this earlier. I kind of wish Thunder Rosa, her promo was done in the ring. I feel like if you're going to announce you're stepping away, I feel like the fans deserve to see that in the ring. That's something I kind of was a little taken back by.
The Billy Gunn and Colton Gunn match threw me off.
Oh, yeah.
Bit. Even the hype for it, like the first father and son match in AEW, it's like, come on, guys.
Stokely Hathaway, what do you think he's doing? You think he's trying to be like Bobby the Brain Heenan and have just represent all these different singles wrestlers, tag wrestlers Like
Probably
a whole stable of like, I don't know if he's like Paul Heyman or Bobby the Brain.
I just hope it goes somewhere, right? Like, what's happening with Stokely, I think everyone has been kind of wanting it, speculating it, like, oh, he should, manage this person, or he should be, because here's what I don't see him doing. I see him, everyone says that he, is going to be such a great person to manage so-and-so, and but he's not really making much of an impact outside of showing up and handing people his card. He's not really making much of an impact. He's not, and I know that you got to wait it out. It's going to take time, but I want to see him actually turn Lee Moriarty, elevate him. Elevate Lee Moriarty into I wouldn't say all the way as to say world championship contention, but get him up there, get him serious, get him going. The gun club, get them some gold around their waist. I want Stokely Hathaway to have an identity, not so much just for comedy, right? Because we know that he's funny. We know that he can, give you a hell of a backstage segment, right? But what else can you give? Why do people want to join Stokely? It was Stokely Enterprises or whatever.
No, that's a good point. Like, he should be like the mastermind for something bigger. Like, he should like kind of outline what his big master plan is, and maybe he wants to represent all the champions in AEW. Like, his goal is everyone that he works with and represents, he's going to make them a champion of whatever respective division they're coming from. Right. So that makes sense. I would hope.
Because so far you have, who's the guy? I forgot his name with Tony Nese.
Oh, Mark Sterling.
He's got, he represents a handful of wrestlers in AEW, and it's just kind of like, what's going on there, right? Mm-hmm. He was representing Jade before Stokely, right? And I can argue and say that I feel like Jade was way more dangerous under Mark Sterling than what she has been with Stokely since he came to AEW.
Yeah.
You know, as a fan, I look at those things and it's just like he hasn't really elevated. The only thing, the baddies have come on the scene ever since I think, Stokely has been representing and Jade Cargill. But if I just want more out of it, and I don't want it to just be another manager who it feels like a trio. Like, it feels like, we have so many trios, and next thing you know, the managers are going to need some type of championship. It's just who's the best representation in AEW? Let's find out.
You're right though. It's almost like Stokely needs to kind of, I think, explain himself and what his mission is, and therefore when we see him approach someone, we know what he's going for, and we can be like, oh, look, he's going after so and so. Like, that's awesome. Maybe he sees potential in this person, and that's kind of like the beginning of them being skyrocketed into success. Like, I want to be excited.
Like Diamond Mine. Like when he was in NXT, Diamond Mine, he was, he made you believe that Diamond Mine was next up. Diamond Mine were future champions, and right now, I just feel like he is riding Jade Cargill's coattails, to be honest. And as a manager, someone who's supposed to be like, for example, like Paul Heyman is always, not to make this long-winded, but Paul Heyman's always been afraid of, he's kind of got that relationship with Brock where he's kind of like afraid of him, like, but at the same time, Paul Heyman means business when he goes out there. He is really representing Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns,
cutting deals to make sure what's best for his client, and they're going to be in the best situation to succeed and win. And when they do win, he celebrates that and says, "Look what I did." And good point. No, I'm with you. Like, Stokely is very talented. He seems like a very creative person, and his timing, his wit, his comedy, all that stuff. He's really good, and I think That, I mean, I thought was a big steal from NXT. Like when WWE released him, I was like, oh, that was a huge loss.
Yeah.
We'll see. We shall see. So, all right, Brian. Well, on that note, let's start wrapping things up. Where can the Kliqsters find you online?
Kliqsters, you guys can find me at BrianTronic on both Twitter and Instagram.
And I'm Baby Huey. Follow me on Facebook at Baby Huey Official, Twitter and Instagram at Baby Huey83. Like I said at the top of the show, please subscribe to us where we get your audio at. Also, follow us on social media at In The Kliq. That's KLIQ. Email us inthekliq@gmail.com. And on that note, let's go home. And that's the bottom line because Huey said so.